Hello everyone, I'm Susan Lee MacDonald and welcome back to my show, The Interview. Today we're going to be meeting a visual artist who blurs the reality and fantasy lines. He's got some amazing works that at a glance look ordinary but have a lot of meaning when you look into it. Join me as I meet the famous artist Jung Yeon-doo and let's take a visual journey through his amazing works. Artist Jung Yeon-doo became the talk of the town in 2008 when he became the second Korean artist whose artworks were exhibited at the Museum of Modern Art New York, or the MoMA, following Baek Nam-joon. He's a media artist who crosses the boundaries between reality and fantasy through his extraordinary artworks. Jung Yeon-doo became the youngest person ever to be named the Artist of the Year by the National Museum of Contemporary Art Korea, and has also been honored with the Asia-Europe Culture Award at the Shanghai Biennale. He has gained tremendous success and popularity as an artist since his debut, and is now famous as the artist who helps people's dreams come true through art. Learn more about his inspirational life story filled with love, warmth, and humor right now. Well, we have the amazing Jung Yeon-doo here. Thank you so much for being part of the interview today.
Thank you for coming to my studio.
You know, it's an amazing studio. I'm looking around and I see just some of your amazing creativity, and I imagine that you get a lot of inspiration from so many places that you travel, and I'm curious why you decided to put these kinds of artworks here in your studio.
Well, actually, it was not intended to show anybody else.
Oh, really?
Because it's my studio, and I put the images that I like for my inspiration. Well, artist space is actually for the collectors or the art lovers. It's really a kind of mysterious space, or a lot of people wants to come and see how the work is processed.
Yeah. Well, you know, we know that you kind of delve into this magical world of art through a number of different kinds of media. You use photography, painting, videos, installation art. I mean, you cover it all. And I'm curious why you decide to choose so many different types of mediums to show your art.
Express certain idea more effectively. There is an effective medium for that. So I choose idea first, and then find a way to solve the problems, to express certain ideas effectively. So, for example, if I am a photographer, then I decide my medium first, and then choose the idea that according to appropriate to the medium.
Sure.
But if I choose a certain idea first, then I choose a medium that way I like to. For photography, seems to carry a lot of stories.
Yeah.
But actually it doesn't, because it's a one layer of images. It pretends it has a certain images, it has a certain aura, a certain situation in the images, but actually it doesn't tell you the specific story. Whereas videos, for example, it carries a beautiful stories that makes people cry and laugh. So trying to express certain stories within the photographs is not appropriate medium. So
for some ideas.
For some ideas.
I see.
This isn't simply a reproduction of the memories of elderly people. By shedding light on seniors, giving exaggerated accounts of their personal experiences, the artist wanted to show that it is human nature to comfort and heal ourselves by falsifying our memories and experiences to present ourselves better than who we really are.
마루 위에 호레이 꼬리가 흔들리는 거야. 그래서 아이고 할머니 그러고 소리 지르니까 이놈이 껑충 내려오는 거니까 우리 집 개야.
그 지금 얘기할게 흰망리 대광리 사이에 철로길이 있어. 거기 중간에 와츠라는 게 있어. 그 철로길 쫙. 그 철로길에서 딱 가면 오빠는 배신하지 말라고.
It's two-channel video, and one channel is showing the documentary I shot at the Pagoda Park or the
Here in Korea.
here in Korea, elderly welfare center. Ask the elderly people what's the best memory in your life, and they talked about their best life, the best memories in their life.
불금 날에도 얼굴 먹해서 내가 보냈다.
그 이 몸을 끌고 어려운 사람, 배고픈 사람들 돈 주고 밥 사주려고 여기로 와서 살고 있는 거야. 이렇게 12년을 된 게 내가 여기를.
I had to choose a video as a medium because I was trying to catch the story of the elderly people. And if I were trying to solve these ideas within photography, I would be able to produce the way I like to.
That must have been something really heartwarming and touching, because we often forget that we have such wisdom in the elderly around us. And of course in Asia we tend to be more of a Confucian culture and have a healthy respect of elders. So for you to choose that topic and ask people who've had a long time on this planet compared to us, it must have been really kind of heartwarming to hear some of their happiest memories. Like, what were some of the memories that just impacted you?
It doesn't necessarily happy. It's a memory that remains in your what you remember. And so, for example, a lady who's been mistreated from his husband and was violent while he was drunk, and so she's
Definitely
been
not happy.
she's been enduring all this unfair treatment from the whole husband, and then and as a woman traditionally she has to endure all these bad things, but once her husband died, she starts smiling.
Oh my goodness.
And talking about this beautiful new boyfriend who's been really nice to her, and so how handsome he is, and everybody's so envy about envy her and all these things. But once you start hearing, then her new boyfriend had a back problem, so in hospital for 3 years, and but she's still saying that when he got better, we're gonna go to Jeju Island and ride a camel together and take a picture. It's so unrealistic scenery that the 84 years old man who has a back problems and in hospital for 3 years and suddenly get better and take her to the Jeju Island and take a picture with the camel. So I actually borrowed the camel from the zoo.
Yes.
And get the 2 trucks of sand with
my
the Jeju Halla mountain scenery on the background. So create a complete impossible scenery in the studio. So one side there is a documentary, another side is kind of the imagery that I imagine from her stories to make a complete fake set.
Wow.
So there are 6 different stories about it, and it's all is about looking back of their own lives and how I interpret the past of the world they used to live.
큰 며느리가 어머니네 집에 들어가서 우리가 좀 살면 안 돼요. 그래서는 너 좋을 대로 들어와서 살아라 그랬더니 들어와서 살고, 방이 3개인데 큰애도 들어오고 둘째도 들어오고 막둥이도 들어오고 셋이 다 들어와 사는 거예요. 컴퓨터 놓고 뭐 한다고. 그래서 와보니까 그 며느리가 전화로 어머니 단서랑 장식장 같은 거, 차단서 같은 건 어떻게 해요? 그래서는 아니 너 해온 거 있으니까 다 버려라. 그래서 집이 좁으면 버려라. 그랬더니 우리 딸이 다 가져갔어. 우리 딸이 다 갖다가 살림 다 갖다 쓰는데, 차단서랑 다 갖다 쓰는데, 지금은 자식들이 그 내 살림을 다 쓰고 또 이것들이 또 그걸 좋아하고 그래가지고 컴퓨터에 대해서 뭐지, 우리 큰아들이 컴퓨터 시스템 자격증을 따가지고 그걸로 하고 벌어먹고 살거든. 그러니까 큰애 하나 가르쳐 놓으니까 둘째도 막둥이도 즉성한테 다 배우니까 다 잘해, 컴퓨터도. 그렇게 해서 지금 둘이 그런 식으로 밥을 벌어먹고 사는데, 그저 편안하게 잘 살아시고.
Let me ask you about some of the works that you've done recently. Some of your works have been inspired by these three movies, the Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds, also the Tokyo Story by Yasujiro Ozu, as well as Kang Jae-gyu's 태극기. So tell me a little bit about those works, why they inspired your work, and some of that.
Actually, when you're trying to say something and instead of showing your interest in certain things, trying to borrow certain ideas or certain genres to talk and make atmosphere more smoothly. Movie for me is the kind of way. For example,
I mean, are you a big fan of these movies, like The Birds? And I mean, that was a scary movie when I saw it for the first time. Terrifying, actually.
Once I was trying to make this scenery, then I have to be a fan because I have to understand how the camera is working, how the director is scrutinizing with a certain scenery. But before then, for me, it's more important to take a picture of the landscape, the picture of the everyday life, and the picture that shows the reality in life. But if I just take a picture of the reality in life, then it became a documentary, and it can be as dramatic as possible to show the reality in life. But the way I use the images in my series, B Camera, is that I borrow the idea of the movie and trying to show the reality.
How long did it take you to complete? It must have taken quite some time to do that.
Having an idea, it takes quite long, but to realize it takes a month. Yes. For example, if you look at the Ozu Yasujiro's movie, it's quite famous with the tatami shot, which is very low angle camera. And if you go to Japanese house, you realize everything is so horizontal and vertical. So Fusuma is vertical and tatami is horizontal. And so with the low angle, it's completely impossible to get the right frame because everything is distorted. So for me, a whole month of period to realize how the director was trying to use black and white images in different angles and different lightings to make a detached from. I think he's very obsessed with the layers, so the closer layers to the further layers. So it's a pure enjoyment to realize, and it takes 1 year, 1 month.
Wow.
But to have a research and thinking about how I set up the whole series in different ideas, it took me a whole year to think about it. So to make him realize it's about this lesson, then to think about why I make realize in certain works in certain way, it takes a long time.
That's really amazing that you have that type of patience, but the eye to try to figure out how that's going to come about through all the time that you prepare.
This was inspired by a scene in the movie Tokyo Story, directed by Yasujiro Ozu. The scene was reproduced as a two-sided picture, with the fictional story of the movie shown on one side and its creation process on the other. In order to perfect this piece, Jung Yeon-doo examined how the black and white images were used and the type of lighting and the filming angles employed by the director for a year.
I imagine that when you're borrowing kind of the ideas from the film directors like Hitchcock and Ozu and Kang Jae-gyu, you have to probably watch those movies many, many times. Do you know how many times you watched each of those movies?
I almost became an otaku. When I was in residency program in Germany last year, I find a beautiful movie shop called the Film Gallery, and the whole section of the wall is classified beautifully according to the directors. So there was like Hitchcock's movie, or 30 of them, or in the whole wall. And I watched 4 movies every day.
4 movies every day.
Yes.
That's at least 8 hours a day.
And it was for 2 months.
2 months. You must have seen either thousands of movies.
Just watching movie, just you can be absorbed. But once you start thinking about a certain idea and searching for the movie, then it feels very different. So, for example, there is a certain scene in Hitchcock's movie. He used a lot of sodium buffer processor, which is a kind of yellow screen, to make the to make a special effect in the 60s way. It's quite funny that the whole actor is sit down in a studio and do things, and there's a kind of projection of the scenery behind, and I think it's quite cute. And you know, you're watching the thriller suspense movie of Hitchcock and trying to find the cute scenery.
It's funny.
It's different intention to look at the movie. So once.
I mean, why did you go through that difficult process of trying to see through all of that?
Because I was trying to talk about something very awkward, and when you are having a difficulty pull off the certain awkward subject, then it's best to borrow the fictions. In order to talk about the Korean historical tragedies and the tensions between North Korea and South Korea, it's always best to borrow the movie.
Jung Yeon-doo personally went to the demilitarized zone to reproduce director Kang Jae-gyu's taegukgi as a photograph. There, he saw the tragic result of the conflict between North and South Korea. In order to depict the Korean War as realistically as the movie did, he shot the large-scale battle sequences near the Nakdong River in the same place using the same techniques. For this work, inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, he reenacted the scene where the heroine enters the town on a boat. In order to show how the illusion was created in this particular scene, he watched Hitchcock's movies 8 hours a day.
In Ulsan area, there are thousands of birds, crows, immigrating. And during the winter time, the whole city is covered with the blackbirds. And when you're looking at them, you just feel the awe to the nature. You know, wow, this is so amazing, and a little human.
You know, every time I talk to someone like yourself who is truly an artist, there's something different. Do you ever feel like you're slightly obsessed with your work? I mean, because you go through such great lengths to try to get the right idea and the right perspective.
Obsession is the most important part for the artist to develop their ideas. Most of the ideas, when people has an idea, there is a light bulb in their head, and how when you have an opportunity to realize it immediately, then it became such a childish idea, and you realize it's so bad. And but once there is a process of obsession, it makes completely different. The obsession makes people to see something that is not possible to see unless you're obsessed.
Yes.
So I really like when I have a chance to realize certain ideas. It's great, but it takes for me a while to make it really a nice idea. So I have an idea from 5 years ago, still hasn't realized. I have an idea from 2 years ago, still haven't realized. Actually, there are a lot of ideas I want to realize, but I didn't have a chance to realize. First, because I didn't have a really funding or opportunity. But second, the work is not obsessed enough.
Yeah. Would you say that in order to create some type of new work, that you have to be obsessed by it? You have to be completely
That's
just
part of
into
the process.
It. Yeah.
So in the morning to the evening, why I should do this? What if I made this, and what kind of reaction from the people? How? The methodology, reaction, the philosophy. so many things you have to think about.
Yondu, I'd really like to ask you about what you think your personality is like, because from an outsider point of view who's just recently met you, I'd say that you are creative, you've got a great sense of humor, or else you couldn't do some of the works that you've done. But you also have a very keen eye for detail, and we also talked about you being very obsessed when you're doing the work that you're doing. How would you describe your own personality?
It's difficult to know. Maybe to understand myself, I have to look at the mirror to look at the person I look like. Or I like to be behind the camera rather than in front of camera. I like to talk, but I like to listen more. So this conversation is quite
so
awkward.
Today this is very unique, right? Because you like to be behind the camera. You're in front of camera now, right?
And
and you're
keep
talking a lot.
and you're listening.
Roles are switched.
So it's something I'm not really good at, but I'm really good at listening to other person.
The next art piece that I'd like to talk about is Bewitched. So how did you decide on the name Bewitched, and tell us about that piece?
For example, there was a girl, she worked at the Baskin-Robbins ice cream shop. She wants to go to North Pole with the dog sledge to the extreme places.
Wow.
So I borrow dogs from the different area, and I bought rabbit skin and then sew onto her jean. And
That's what we have behind you right there. Okay.
And I made a kind of white tent with the marker pen to draw the igloo. So everything is so handmade, and we shot it at the Taebaek area where there was snow. So what it is actually, it consists of 2 photographs and asking stranger who I never met before what their dream is, and then we make a dream come true in a very cottage industry way, that borrowing things and asking favors. And
I'm curious though, why you chose to do something for other people. I know that there are certain types of non-profit foundations, Make-A-Wish, for dying children, cancer patients, and so on. Do you focus on people that have certain special needs, or just kind of any random person? Why did you choose to do the subject of dreams?
the most important thing is that I'm not doing a favor for someone to making a dream come true, because they know that I'm not going to able to make their dream come true already, and but they. In the process, we sort of get to know each other, and it became quite fun. So I actually learn a lot through the process, because sometimes you underestimate the girls who's working at the ice cream shop, and hey, you're naive girls, and you're trying to make a little money with the ice cream, selling an ice cream. But actually, she felt that she doesn't want to be seen as a naive girl, so her dream is going to the extreme places that normally people wouldn't be able to imagine, which I think is really nice, and I learn a lot from the process.
But just looking at someone who is dressed in a particular uniform, we think of them only in that way, and so this is your way maybe to kind of expand upon them being more than what they appear to be. And we have so many different sides.
That's actually, you made it really clear. Well, there was a lot of stories behind. I went to 12 different countries, made 24 people's dream come true so far.
Wow.
And each time, for example, when I had a show at the Istanbul Biennial, Istanbul Biennial got my idea too seriously. So they actually get the sponsorship from the bank called the Akbank. And whoever I make the dream come true with the photograph, they can really make it come true with their own money.
Oh, wow.
So there was a condition of the sponsoring. And there was a boy who serves the tea on the street. All his younger brothers are serving tea on the street, and he wants to be a math teacher. And when if he passes examination, then the whole bank will support all the schooling fees to
For the entire family.
Economic support until he became a math teacher, which I think is really my work. It's just 2 photographs. The whole idea is that I don't want just take appearance of someone. I want to take photograph that could show the behind the human's appearance. It could give us a very good lesson, but in the fundamental sense, that model and myself has a very different ideas about the dream. After our project, model can come and say, "Hey, you ruined my dreams," and or hey, this little Asian guy came over and made my dream come true in 2 weeks' time, and so he can do it now. Why didn't I do it until now? And so he got more encouraged. That kind of experience we as a human to produce certain artworks, just 2 images, actually what has not in the photographs from the reality, from the dream, the whole experience between the 2 persons actually is not in the photo. But I really kind of enjoy that process of making the 2 images. Yeah.
He undertook this project, which helped the participants' dreams come true while traveling across the world for 2 years. He interviewed 13 participants and asked them to describe their lifelong dreams. And by helping their dreams come true in pictures, he gave them the courage to take action in reality. Jung Yeon-doo's warm, compassionate heart was seen in Bewitched, a project that was undertaken to remind people that they are the heroes and the heroines of their own stories. You know, art is not always for everyone, but it seems that there is a kind of mass appeal with some of the work that you've done. And I'm curious why you think your art appeals to so many people, and what's your opinion on that?
I think the most keyword for my work would be the sympathy. You know, I feel the same way as you feel, and I have thought about this before. The kind of I think a good artwork should be like an onion. You can peel it, and there is another layer. Peel it, there is another layer. Being understandable or easy is difficult word for the artist to pass the meanings, but for me it should be easy. It should be understandable.
We headed to Seoul Station to check out some of his latest works on display. But there weren't any artworks to be seen. It seemed as if he was busy with car repair, but a closer look revealed that this was the actual artwork.
커터 있어, 커터? 이거 전동 시트가 움직이면은 모델 위치가 자꾸 바뀌게 되거든요. 이 조명, 정우야. 네. 이 조명 디퓨징 이 박스 앞에 나오지 않니?
디퓨징이 구멍이 좀 뚫려 있어요.
This work is called Driving in Theater, and basically I'm making a theater for the audience, and so they can come inside the car and sit and look at the screen in front of them. Actually, what they are seeing on the screen is their images.
The exhibition hall is packed with visitors, even though it's a weekday. It was an intriguing work that made me feel as if I were actually driving on the road.
I think the work is very playful, and I think it can lead to a lot of scenarios, which is really fun. And it's great that I can actually kind of go for a ride and act out my own scenario.
This is so unique. Because of its three-dimensional shape, it also appeared more animated.
Car is kind of a space for being a very personal or intimate. At the same time, it can be a public space, such as like this, as a movie scene, or when you go to movie drive-in theater and trying to look at the movie, the audience immediately became actor. So this is kind of mixing between the public experience and the personal experience.
You know, we can't leave out your famous work, the documentary Nostalgia. And a lot of times people have compared you to the famous Baek Nam-joon. I'm curious what you feel about that comparison, and tell us about documentary Nostalgia too.
Baek Nam-joon is a great artist, and it's my honor to be compared, but it's not, it's just causes by a little misunderstanding. Because my first video piece, documentary Nostalgia, was shot at the New York MoMA, Museum of Modern Art. They have a Modern Mondays program, and they want me to show their my video pieces in their movie theater. It's 85 minutes, non-stop camera, and it's one take. So there is no sound. It's from time to time, person comes in, changes the scenery, and they go out, and it pretends to be a still again. There is no overwhelming Dolby sound system, and there is no fast editing or interesting effect or anything. And so when I first had a chance to show this piece, I thought it's not possible for the audience to sit down for 85 minutes. You're almost testing their endurance. And but the curator think it's a very interesting piece we should show. So I went there. 250 people sit down in the theater, and nobody left for 85 minutes.
Really?
And
wow.
it was really, so from time to time, amazingly, they laughed.
When did they laugh most?
Actually, once something is really boring, then they think it's boring. But something is really, really boring, then they start having a philosophical thoughts afterwards. It's called the second boredom, I think. It's, the second boredom actually makes people to realize that the artist is playing with the time, and it's something that you don't really unexpected happens. Then they start laughing because they are making a connection with their own experience in their lives.
Yes.
The first thing I was worried is to make people too bored to death, but they wasn't. And then secondly, they actually has purchased my pieces for their collection, and that was a second video artist from Korea who was has a collection in MoMA, which is first was Nam-joon Baek. So Korean newspaper wrote another Baek Nam-joon, the video artist. But I think I admire Baek Nam-joon a lot, but my work has a very different attitude, because it was very much to do with my own biographical approach towards the filmmaking. I had a fantasy about movie studios. So my first idea to having a solo show at the National Contemporary Art Museum in Korea, I want to change the museum into the movie studio. So my previous show and my show had, in between there was 3 weeks of time to prepare, and I demolished the previous exhibition, and we set up the movie sets, and we shoot the movie in between and show the movie sets and the movie itself together. That was a documentary Nostalgia. And 6 different scenery from my memory is slowly constructed. So my father's house and my father's pharmacy, street, and the countryside, rice field, and Daegwallyeong, the farm,
Yes.
cow grazing field, and the forest and the mountaintop. 6 different sceneries are slowly changed while the camera is running. So the light crews and the set crews shouldn't be in the movie. They come in once in a while and pick up the trees, and they walk out and put something else and show it again.
I'm curious why you chose not to do any kind of video editing. I mean, that's completely eliminated in your movie. And why did you choose to not do any kind of editing?
Because people are born with the TV. How many movies do you think normal adults watched in their life?
Hundreds, probably. Yeah.
So they've been trained with computers. So it's almost like they all know that that's not true. They don't love each other. Actually, there are 20 people with the lighting and the mic is waiting, working together outside the frame. They don't imagine that and watching the movie. The documentary nostalgia constantly reminds you this is a fake. Actually, this is not the real, and this is actually shot in the Mirror Museum exhibition hall.
Yes.
But you all know the tricks of the magic itself. But once you start showing the magic, and I leave the laboratory about a few minutes, just nothing happens, and the scenery, then people start believing it again. They find it at least. They find themselves trying to believe it because they've been trained the whole their life. So this video is dealing with the audience, not from the 19th century or beginning of 20th century. I'm dealing with the people from 21st century.
Yes.
And
and
very primitive
how we've been
way.
like pre-programmed to think certain things when we're watching a drama or a TV or a movie. We've definitely been trained from a very young age to see media a certain way, and it seems like you're trying to show that that's not real reality. Right?
Yeah.
The work that ultimately led him to global fame, documentary nostalgia. He made all the props with his own hands and used live creatures for livelier scenes. For instance, he even brought an ox from Taean for the filming set. His brilliant ideas and remarkable works have helped him garner much interest from famous art museums and galleries at home and abroad.
Yondu, I'd like to ask you about your project, Cinemagician. It's a fun combination of the words cinema and magician. If you could explain to us why you chose those two words and what the project's about.
The word came from Georges Méliès, the French movie director. He was one of the frontier movie director in the beginning of the 20th century.
Okay.
And he was actually a magician. So when he first see the cinematography, he thought, oh, this could be a really nice magic show. So he sort of cut the films and connected so that man became a woman, or he took his head and make musical notes, or famous Journey to the Moon.
Yes, I love that one.
So I should work with the magician. So I typed in the best magician in Korea, and Lee Eun-gyeol was on the list. First, our performance at the Yokohama Museum Theater, and then we were invited to the Performa 2009, and it's a performance biennial, and there were 150 teams performing in November in New York, all over the theaters. And only 10 out of 150 is invited, a commission team. And we became the commission team.
Wow.
And
that must have felt like a great honor to be commissioned.
Yeah, it's a great honor because other artists like William Kentridge or Mike Kelly, they're all famous artists. And this is Yondu from Korea, who never heard of before, was one of the commission artists and doing the magic show called the Cinemagician in Asia Society Theater. So we had a 2 days performance. The first day there were like half people came, and we were trying to, make the same kind of tension. So we had a 15 minutes videotapes and start making a performance and action start, and the camera is rolling, and then the whole performance should be finished in 15 minutes. Eun-gyo was making Jiri mountain scenery of spring, summer, and winter, 3 scenery, but we never made a 15 minutes.
How long did it turn out to be?
Like 60 minutes was our best record. People were, they clapping, they never go home. And
wow.
So story was spread out, so people queued for 200 meters next day, and
Amazing response.
Amazing
After
response.
they saw and heard of it the first night, they just were standing in line. What do you think it was about that performance that drew these people and the crowds?
Because whole thing is about showing the tricks of the magic itself. And if you're not really confident enough, then you wouldn't be able to show your own tricks. And Eun-gyo was really kind of the best of his genre anyhow, so he was not against showing his trick itself. But there was a lot of parts that was unexpected, because Eun-gyo was dressed up as an artist t-shirts, and he was trying to make things that doesn't make sense. And I was trying to be a magician, camera magician, who's trying to make things different from what you see and what you see on the stage. So in a way, we were trying to change our roles, and I think nobody has seen this kind of genre before. So that's why people, I think, praises things that they haven't seen before. That's why people came.
Yondu, at such a young age, you've created a lot of different pieces, and I'm curious how you view your work thus far, and has anything changed in your artistic work in the past couple of years?
When I have an impulse for producing something, a lot of artists, actually a lot of critics ask me, why would you do that? What's the connection between your previous piece and what you're trying to do? And most of the artists, including myself, doesn't have an answer for that. Well, I've been thinking about it. I really like to do that, but I don't know how. Few artists wait until they got the permanent reason to, pursue this piece of work. In my case, I don't wait. Of course, I have to wait for.
You're a little impulsive then?
But if I feel like I really have to do it, then I do it. But amazingly, when I produce work, some critic comes, "Oh, you're so clever. You know that you've been doing this, and you appear to look like doing completely something else, but." Now, how did you connect this one in this way? And shows the way how to connect the work. And, oh, yes, that's true. I didn't thought about it, but it's true. You can see it that way. But do I have to really see the path of the thread of the thinking that the critic is looking for, looking at my work? From my work.
Well, that's their jobs, right? Your job is mainly to just be inspired by something and
that's
and
what
do
I,
your
why
work,
I
right?
was talking that the legend of artwork has nothing to do with the artist himself, how clever they are, or they actually it made with. It's almost like a playing with the audience and myself, a collector. Curator, gallerist, and critics. It's like a ping pong game. It's playing with them, and I really like the process of making works in such a way, by the communication with the talking with the models, and that's how I work.
Communicating with others while attentively listening to their dreams. Wonderland, encompassing the worlds of reality and fantasy, is characterized by the fact that the drawings done by children based on their infinite imagination were reproduced as close to reality as possible.
Wonderland will return you to your childlike innocence and make you feel as though you have traveled back in time in a time machine. Perhaps this is the reason it is still a popular piece on display at an art museum in Japan.
Wonderland is from the children's drawing. I went to kindergarten for 4 months and collected about 1,300 drawings from the children with their own story.
That's great.
And then once I was sitting down with the fashion designer, and what if we make exactly the same the way child draw? So if child draw one sleeve bigger than the other, if we make exactly the same clothing, and what do you think? And the fashion designer I worked says, oh wow, that will be very avant-garde. So we start making the costumes of the children from the children's drawing, and start making a scenery with the photographs. So Wonderland is making children's fantasy into photography as an adult's perspective of the world.
As you were doing this, did you also have a chance to invite some of the children to take a look at their art as done by you? And what was the reaction of the kids?
Normally kids from 6 to 7, they forget. Because it's just, I cannot make work immediately, so it takes a while, a few months, and they come and that's drawing you draw, and did I? That's the children's reaction. But that's something I like about, because they've been so casual, so lack of information, and then it's so much fantasy. So photography, whatever you take, it always involves with the social meanings, or certain political meanings. Or so one medium is completely adult's perspective, and another idea is completely children's idea, and when it mixed together, it creates quite interesting result.
Yondu, it's been such a pleasure talking to you and delving into the mind of an artist and hearing about your really fascinating viewpoints on how you've done your work over the years. I really appreciate you spending time with me here on the interview, and I wish you all the success, and I can't wait to go see the new works that you're going to be doing very soon.
Thank you for coming to my studio.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We'll see you hopefully very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.